welcome back to the Shoogly Shed. Normal service will resume shortly. The cat has joined me. We're going to go back onto some motorbikes. Yay! I've basically got the Mrs Shoogly's Fazer behind me here. It is due its MOT test shortly, and it also needs a little bit of a refresh. It's been sat under a cover all winter. Just needs a good thorough going over and an aesthetic upgrade, which I will show you what I'm doing shortly. So let's get it in, let's get it on the stand and take a wee look. Now, I know a lot of people on the channel, a lot of viewers, have been patiently waiting for a return to the XJR 1300 project, and it will be so soon. So soon it'll be back on the ramp and we'll be getting back into it, because my sight is really high for it and I really want to kind of just get my teeth back into that project and the project for myself. I really enjoyed doing the VMAX. But building a bike for someone else doesn't quite hit the same as building a bike that I kind of, it's my vision and I'm going to be able to, you know, do whatever I want to it to make it the bike that I want it to be. However, in the meantime, duty calls. I am a married man and I have to do what my wife tells me. This is obviously Mrs Shoogly's Fazer, Yamaha Fazer 600. She rides it for a bit of recreation, but then she also rides it to work sometimes. It sits under a cover, and because of that it kind of gets the worst of it, just with regards to moisture and weather and spiders, lots of spiders. So what we're going to do is take a bunch of the panels off. It's going to get good clean, and then also it needs a new headlight. It's due an MOT soon, and I think this headlight has I think the beam pattern is a bit mental on it and therefore probably needs to be replaced. I've got one hung up over there ready to go on it. Then also one of the indicators has stopped working, so I've got a replacement for that to switch out. And the other big thing I want to do to it is give it a respray, a little refresh of the paintwork. Basically it's going to be quite simple. It's going to be the back cowl unit and the front fender are currently red. They're going to just go satin black. And the tank is going to go a nice green colour that I'll show you as well. Not going to be super, you know, in-depth paint job, just going to be a quick refresh. Like I say, it's not going to be show ready, it's just Mrs Shoogly's daily rider, but just giving it a little bit of a clean up. And then I possibly also want to do something with the exhaust. It's quite a big, kind of chunky, ugly exhaust on there, maybe try and do something to shorten it a wee bit. Not 100% sure what I'll do yet, but there's things to do, and then also just to generally give it a clean up and touch up some parts that have suffered due to the elements over the winter. Without further ado, let's get into it. Top tip, and I learnt this from a friend not that long ago: if you use a lot of aerosol spray cans, save the lids and make yourself little parts organisers. So it's literally just 4 aerosol lids duct taped together, and it makes convenient little parts organisers for when you're dismantling things like this. Just pop the bolts in the right place, you're not going to lose anything. Simple. You can have that one for free. I've had a few people ask me in the past whether or not I think the Fazer is a good candidate for like a cafe racer build. Now, this is maybe a good opportunity for those folk to see the frame structure of the Fazer. It's that kind of cradle frame where you've got the two sort of outrigger frame rail cradle part thing. This is very similar to the GS500s that I used to do, and therefore I believe that it can make a good cafe racer. It doesn't have the sort of single backbone that a lot of bikes do, and like the XJR has, for example, and a lot of typical cafe racer bikes or donor bikes have. However, like I say, that doesn't mean to say that you can't do it. You just need a little bit of creativity, is maybe the best word I can come up with. But the point is, the back also scoops out a little bit. It widens. Don't know if you can kind of see that in the video, but the rails come out. So if you want to do the classic kind of cafe racer hoop style, again, you're going to need to get creative when you cut off this back end, and come up with something. Either restructure this entirely to bring these lines inwards, or come up with something that's not just your typical hoop in order to make the back end have that kind of cafe racer flow. Aside from that, it's obviously a monoshock. You've not got the typical cafe racer sort of twin shocks, like my XS250 over there. But again, the GS500s that I used to do also were monoshocks, and I think I still managed to make a decent sort of cafe racer custom bike out of them. So anything's possible, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make here. People ask me on quite a lot of occasions what bikes make good donor bikes for cafe racers, and I always try and say back, any bike can be a cafe racer. Kind of the limit is your imagination, really. Sounds a bit corny, but it's kind of true. If you can see, you know, a cafe racer in a bike, then you can make it. As far as strip downs go, that's pretty much as far as I'm going to go just now. I'm going to get the panels prepped and get some paint on them. While the paint's drying, I can start to sort out taking the headlight off and sorting the indicator out. That was the other two jobs, and then have a wee look at the exhaust and see if there's anything I can come up with for that as well. Yeah, I also need to take the mudguard off. I think I can get away with getting that off without getting the front end off, hopefully. So we'll do that as well. Yeah, it needs a polish up and a spruce up and some things maybe taken off and given a wee blast of spray paint, but nothing major, which is quite good because I want to get this done quite quickly so I can get on my XJR. You know, I'm enjoying most about this. Feels like I've gone back to my roots. Dodgy paintwork in the garden. To be honest, like it's a very different experience building like a show bike, like a bike that's top quality and can stand up to anything in a show, and just taking your time over absolutely everything and making absolutely everything perfect, and it's good for you, and it obviously makes you push your boundaries and things. But something about shed building, and I classify this as shed building, it just really appeals to me about just getting a job done, not caring too much about the end product. Like, obviously wanting it to look decent, but that kind of quick slapdash approach is quite fun, and get to flex my kind of shed buildy muscles a little bit and go back to my roots, as I say. So it's quite nice. I'm enjoying myself. Just got these painted up. The first coat, I don't know if you noticed, was a sort of flash coat. You just do like a really light coat of paint. I'm using trusty tough black, Simonized tough black. This doesn't need a primer, or at least it tells you actually not to use a primer. So I just do like a dust coat, let that sort of tack off, and then do like one or two big heavy coats on it, and that to me seems to get the best results out of that paint. If you go too heavy on the first pass, it just all dribbles off, and if you do too many light passes, you get a bit of an uneven texture on it. So one sort of light dust coat, let it tack off, gives a good sort of adhesion layer, and then a couple of heavier coats, and you get a pretty decent result from it. So the plastics are all getting that black coat, and the petrol tank is getting a green colour. I've got base coat for it, and then I also have a 2K, one of these cans, premix cans that you crack an activator and then spray that 2K lacquer to go over the top. I've said in the past that there's no real paint out of a spray can that's actually petrol proof, even if it does say petrol or fuel proof. I found that the tough paint is fairly resistant to fuel. That's quite good. Aside from that, any other colours have just been a bit pants. Even like fuel proof lacquers have just dribbled off as soon as you try and get any fuel on it. So I found the 2K paint, the proper stuff, is the only solution to that. It's a bit more expensive, and you really need to wear a proper respirator for it, but it does get good results. So I'm going to put base coat on the fuel tank, and then a couple of coats of the 2K lacquer on top while these are drying. And then once that's all done, I'll head back to the bike and get started on the headlight and the indicator and a few other bits and bobs. So the paint is drying on the tank and the panels. I've got a bit of time now to have a look at the exhaust. Now the exhaust on the Fazer is, I think it's a stock one. It just unbolts here, slips off. It's about double the length that I would like, or Mrs Shoogly would like, I should say. So probably going to try and cut it down to about here, and then move this back piece inwards to there. So let's see if that works and see what it looks like. First things first is to mark it up, take it off, cut it, and then kind of go from there. trowel and the mudguard are back on the bike. Looking good already. And as you can see, the tank over there is drying. It will probably take a day or so to fully cure, and I don't really want to touch it before then, so I'm going to walk away from it just now, come back when it's dry, put the tank on, fit the new headlight, and then we're finished. Well, I'm glad I got all that painting done yesterday because the temperature has dropped massively and it's raining today. So yeah, that was well timed. I've got the heater on, don't know if you can hear it. April suddenly feeling a little bit more like April. Anyway, the tank is cured enough for me to touch it. It's like all touch dry, and that means I can put it back on the bike. The other thing I need to do obviously is fit the new headlight. It's off a Bandit, I think, this headlight, but I've resprayed the bowl because it was looking a bit crusty. Aside from that, it should be a relatively straightforward fit. New indicator to go on, and then we're gravy. So let's get to work. Here's something I invested in recently. It's a auto probe, power probe kind of thing. Basically, it's for testing electrical components. All you do is connect the cables up to the battery, like so. There we go. And that basically gives me power, and I can do positive and negative. I earth my component, and then I put power to it, and I can check whether or not the component works. So in this instance, I can't remember which one of the front indicators doesn't work, so I'm just going to put some power through them and see which one works and which one doesn't, and then I know which one to replace. So that's it connected up, power. There we go. This one works. This one does not work, so it's the right hand one that I need to replace. Easy peasy. Handy little bit of kit. If you haven't got one, they're only about £10, something like that, off a popular auction site. Get yourself one, handy for the toolbox. that's Mrs Shoogly's Fazer had a bit of a spring refresh, all done. New headlight, indicator fixed, and a bit of a respray. It's a bit Marmite, that colour. I don't know if a lot of people will like it, some people might not, some people might, love it. So, don't really mind, it's not your bike, so don't get too hurt about it. Either way, I think it looks pretty cool. It's very different, you wouldn't see many of these riding about, so yeah, that suits Mrs Shoogly right down to the ground. May have gone slightly overboard with the exhaust, that's pretty raspy. Yeah, not 100% sure on that, might need to play about with that a bit. Either way, that's another big job ticked off, just getting the Fazer its spring refresh, and that now means I can turn my attention back to the XJR 1300 that's been waiting very patiently over here for the best part of a year. God, time has flown by with Musashi and the truck and all the other things I've been doing, so I'm really excited to get back on the XJR build, to get it back on the stand and see about starting to finish off the fabrication jobs, getting a wee bit more work on the lathe, the welder. Need to get the TIG welder up and running. I've had it sat there, it's total waste. It's sat there doing nothing for the past 3 months. I haven't even fired it up yet, so there's still a lot of learning to be done there. Yeah, there's loads of content to be made, and like I say, I do apologise for being a bit sort of missing in action the last wee while. Hands have been tied with the truck and other vehicles and things like that, so it's cool to be back in the shed, it's cool to be back working on motorbikes, and I hope you're excited for the following few months when the weather gets a bit better. We'll get Musashi out for a proper show reel, get some nice riding footage with it as well. Hopefully get lots of work done on the XJR, maybe do a little bit more on the truck if people are interested in that. Yeah, there's lots to be done. As usual, please do give me a like, leave me a comment, and make sure you do subscribe to the Shoogly Shed channel so you don't miss any of that stuff coming up, and also all my back catalogue of videos. Check them out if you haven't already. Take care. Goodbye. I've got one of Mrs Shoogly's fancy mugs in the shed. Don't tell her, I'll be in trouble.